These two are breeding. This is one of the cycles they go through, depending upon temperatures. I think it also has a lot to do with food availability, if there's an abundance of food. Because I've noticed when I've put rice in with them for them to feed on, they tend to go into a breeding cycle. So I'm not for sure if it's necessarily the high carb ratios that they're ingesting, or if it's just the abundance of food in the tank itself. But it's just one of the things I've observed with some of the things that I've experimented with food. I've also used other foods, and I'll talk about that in other videos. I'm going to go through and check some more things out. So I did have a couple collapses over the last couple of years of creating this system. Unfortunately, I had some personal events in my life that took away a lot of my attention away from the system. So some of the videos that you might have watched on my program here has been, over the last couple of years. I've had some really good successes right off the bat, and then I had a system collapse. Brought the system back up, and then had another system collapse occur. And when that collapse occurred, I actually lost 5 goldfish due to the inadequacies of the nitrates being pulled out of the water system. So unfortunately, I did have some death to the system as far as the fish. Lost a few crawfish, which surprisingly I figured crawfish would have suffered greater than the fish themselves, but I believe crawfish are able to get out of the water a little bit more and breathe air, because I noticed they get up and climb on a lot of various things, like this guy here. Yeah, he don't like me video him. He gets a little cranky. But if you notice, they do like to hang out up on the surface a lot. And I noticed them doing this when it comes time for a breeding session also. So it just depends. Water temperatures, there's oxygen saturation is definitely high. I have a 3,000 gallon pond pump in the system hooked up, so it's definitely pushing quite a bit of air into the system. But yeah, there's some potatoes back there that I'm throwing in. They say you can't grow potatoes in aquaponics, so I'm messing around. This tomato plant, a few weeks ago before it got cold, I actually just ripped that out of the ground in my garden, washed off the soil and stuff that it was growing in, and then I just shoved it in here, and it went through a really brief shock, and then its growth started to take off quite well, and it goes all the way up to there. I did run into an aphid problem. I still have a little bugger flying around somewhere in here, but I did run into an aphid problem for a little bit, so I got a lot of leaf curl. This pepper plant here, which you can see is now flowering and budding, is also something I ripped out of the garden, washed off the root system, and just shoved it in there. This plant here, I rooted this plant in the system, and it was done to help control the nitrate issues. So it's just bare root in here, and it's one of those type plants that can survive pretty much anything. It's house plant. So I have that in there, and really crawfish don't eat it or mess with it at all. As long as they're well fed, which I try to keep a lot of different things in there. I'm eventually going to redo the system. Unfortunately, I'm limited on money. I was in an accident several years ago that required several back surgeries. And it's one of those things that this was a dream of mine to make a type of a farm business. And unfortunately, I've come to realize with my back issues that I can't do this on a on a bigger level. So just trying to share my information with people.